We had many discussions with our relatives saying how the anti-Semitism, you couldn't get a job if they knew that you were a Jew. And they said, it's gonna come down, don't worry, never mind, it's just gonna go away. Well, it didn't, and the Nazis came in, and then there was the Crystal Night. And at 2 in the morning, they knocked on our door, they say, open up, and was the SS. And they did this, they had a list, they knew everyone who is a Jew and who is not a Jew. And they told my dad what they are doing. You are arrested.
My dad went to a restaurant with a group of friends and his sister at a time when they had to have their card saying with the big J on it, the whole thing. And they were at the restaurant and the Nazis came in, said, okay, show me your identification cards. And my aunt didn't have hers. So my dad was very quick thinking, okay, collected them all, handed them as a group, and they never noticed that they were one short.
When the Nazis came, we were on the second floor of an apartment, and when they dragged him out, I was hollering "Vati, Vati," which is in German "father." It's an endeared word, and I was pulling at the legs of these people that dragged him out, but to no avail. And that's the only thing I remember.
Everything, don't worry, Hitler is gonna be gone in no time. And my dad did not listen. I mean, the Gestapo told him you have to be out in 3 months. He went.
Dann wird das Ergebnis nicht die Bolschewisierung der Erde und damit der Sieg des Judentums sein, sondern die Vernichtung der jüdischen Rasse in Europa.
You have to be out of Germany in 3 months. Well, my dad went to every consulate they had, Uruguay, Argentina, USA, Britain. You have to have an entry visa, you have to have so and so much money, you cannot come. Now, Shanghai was the only place where you were able to go without a visa, without an entry permit.
Heil und unser Führer! Heil! Heil! Heil!
But we were all told by fellow Jews and relatives, you better get out, because otherwise, once you stay here, that's it. The Nazis will get you. So my mother took all of her belongings, whatever she had, because they had a store in some small town, a clothing store or merchandising store, and took the money, and she found out where she get tickets to get aboard ship, an Italian shipping line. So she converted all that, whatever they had, into money for the tickets. And with these tickets, we were able to take a ship from Italy to China, to Shanghai. And that's how we got out. If she didn't have any money, things would have been a lot worse. So we left behind, many relatives, but mostly my grandfather. And we found out later that at first he was working on the streets, on the roadways, putting tiles on the roads, and then later on they just killed him, I guess.
The railway, you know, you were able at that time to go via Siberia to Shanghai. All those, they were booked for months and months. And my dad was standing in line, and they slept, they didn't go home. They stand in line all the time just to get into the office. And my dad was there, and there came a man, and I don't know how my dad got together with him, but anyhow, he got a visa to Uruguay. And he said, I'd rather go to Uruguay than to Shanghai. I have 4 Shanghai tickets which I want to sell. Would you like to buy them? And most of the people in line were doubtful that it was a scam. And my dad said to me himself, what do I have to lose? He said, I would like to buy them. And he sold the tickets to my dad, and that's how we were able to get out from Vienna. As you left Germany, every Jew was allowed to take 10 marks. 10 marks at that time was equivalent for 1 restaurant meal. And that's what and you were not allowed to take any jewelry if they caught you. Finished. And we were so afraid. First of all, my parents didn't have any jewelry. We were middle standard. We were even a little bit below. My dad was an insurance agent for life insurance. And you know, you had in Austria the depression too, same like Germany. Who bought life insurance? So it was not easy for my parents.
The fight between Japan's military might and the cunning and determination of the Chinese. Already there are over 100,000 war refugees in Shanghai and 500,000 extra people in the foreign settlements. Yet Jewish refugees from Germany are swelling their numbers. 4,000 have landed and more are on the way. Despite all the city's troubles, somehow the refugees from Europe are cared for, they're given food and shelter, for most of them are destitute.
Now, we boarded our ship in Genoa, Italy. Then we went through the Suez Canal, Aden, Port Said, Singapore, Manila, Hong Kong, Shanghai. And the voyage lasted about 1 month. Shanghai in 1937, the Japanese landed and took part of Shanghai.
To defend her control of Shanghai, Japan has brought 55,000 more troops up the Yangtze River. And as the Chinese armies mass in a great arc round the city's western outskirts, it's war within a few miles of the international settlement where more than 3.5 million non-combatants live and work. As the Japanese advance street by street, the retiring Chinese plant their snipers on every rooftop, raining sheets of chattering fire. These dramatic pictures just received were actually filmed during a battle in Shanghai's Chinese district, so thickly populated that every bomb and shell means death to hundreds. Every ruined house hides the agony of a people crushed by the steamroller of another war, waged, they say, for the sake of peace.
And we arrived in Shanghai, and you see, Shanghai at that time was international, and there were the Sassoon family and the Kadori. They practically owned Shanghai. They had all they owned the land, and how they made their money was with opium. They were, Sassoon and Kadori was originally from India. And what happened is that those two families, they had such a tremendous wealth. And that's how we came in a district which was completely destroyed. The only thing what was not destroyed were the schools, and they boarded us in the school, in the classroom. In the classroom there were about maybe 5 to 10 families with bunk beds. The privacy you had was a sheet around the beds. That's what it was.
And upon landing in Shanghai, they put us into a camp. There were many camps. This one was called Wayside Road. There was one called Alcock. Another one was called Ward Road. And life was very, very, very primitive at that time. And where they put us was a district called Honkyu.
And that's where Sassoon and Kadori came in. They gave us soup kitchen. It was not the best, but at least it was that we were able to survive. And then later on, they opened up a school. They called it the Kadori School for the children, and so that's where I went to. And and they gave us a little breakfast, nothing fancy, but at least it survived. I mean, 22,000 people is quite a number.
And of course, the Jewish population was anywhere between 18 and 22,000. That came from Austria, Czech Republic, Germany, and Poland, but not too much from Poland. And of course, the ultra-Orthodox, they established a synagogue there, and we all had to go, no matter where we came from, I think 6 days a week for Hebrew school. And that's where I learned my Hebrew, and I never forgot it. But as I said, the Jewish population, we established museums, of course, delis, and sports teams, all kinds of sports teams, art functions, of course on a very primitive basis.
On top of it, not only that we didn't have practically nothing to eat, we had bed bugs, we had cholera, we had malaria, we had typhoid, you name it, we had it. And those were epidemics. That was not that only a single person had it. It was by the hundreds, and they perished. I had paratyphoid. I got typhoid. I was about 12 or 13 years old, and the doctors, there was a makeshift hospital, and you cannot call it even as a hospital. They didn't have the medication, they didn't have the operation room, nothing. But at least they had that. And they told my dad, well, we give the boy about 5 more hours, and he's gonna be we are not able to save him. And you know something? I survived. That's such a miracle. But I had to learn how to walk. I was a skeleton, and it was just terrible. But those are the circumstances, not only of my family, but about all the 22,000 in Shanghai. It was just horrible, and work was very hard to get. My dad couldn't find a job, and he got so frustrated that he committed suicide. And that was, of course, a tremendous blow of me, because I was at that time 16 years old, and if my dad would have waited 5 more months, the war would have been over. So that is the story, but it happened to so many others that it's I am not alone. The room where we lived, you see, after we were in the shelter, my dad rented a room 10 feet by 15 feet. And there were 4 people living, my sister, my mom, my dad and me. And there was no toilet, only outhouse. And there was no shower, no bathroom. And like I said, the toilet was every morning the city came and they emptied the bath and they used it for farming, for it and cholera, because the rentals from the people, they did the farming, and then you ate the vegetable or the water, and you got tired for that. Why you always had to boil everything. So I mean, that's just the circumstances. So at times, now Shanghai has changed. I mean, all where I used to live, there's a high-rise, I think 6 or 7 stories. Everything has changed. Shanghai, it was clean. At that time I was there, it was dirty. Now, if a Chinese family died, they put the corpse on the street for weeks and weeks before the municipality picked them up. Dead bodies. And especially if it was a girl, you know, the boys was always preferred, head of the family always. So Shanghai has changed, and they were very nice. They did not, was very, very nice.
Of course, on a very primitive basis, and that was all okay until 41, until Pearl Harbor, and then all this closed down.
And you know, the Jewish community in Shanghai was the cream of the crop. We had the best doctors, the best craftsmen, the best business people, you name it, we had it. If Pearl Harbor wouldn't have broken out, I guarantee that we, the 22,000 refugees, would have made something out of ourselves from nothing. You see, if I talk about this, people get doubtful, but with the 22,000 refugees in Shanghai, the Japanese, let me tell you how the ghetto was established. There was the name of Mr. Stammer. He was the commandant of the Warsaw ghetto, and then he was appointed to be ambassador to Tokyo. Now, please quote me, I don't know if his name was Stammer, but I think his name was Stammer. Well, anyhow, he was the embassy in Tokyo, and he told the Japanese that we will supply the gas and all the extra. We want that you gas all the 22,000 refugees in Shanghai. They have to be eliminated. And the Japanese refused. They said, we're not doing it. But the pressure was so strong from the German, and after all they were the Axis, they put us in the ghetto. And that's what happened. Now coming back to the Japanese ignored us. If you did not go out from the ghetto, they did not bother you. Very, very, very seldom that they gave somebody a beating. Very seldom. In general, they were tolerable. They were able to, but you see, if I say this to the American public, they don't agree, which is correct. Because if I would have been a prisoner of war, finished. But there was a big difference between prisoner of war or civilian. And if I would have been an American civilian, very bad. But somehow the Japanese did not agree to eliminate the Jews. For us, we were German. So that is about the ghetto.
We never saw very much of the Japanese occupation, except for 1941 when the Japanese bombarded Pearl Harbor. Okay, they put a Japanese governor into the camp area where we lived, and every time we wanted to go out, or some people had jobs outside the camp area, they had to get an okay from him. And he was very short, not even 5 feet. So he stepped on that's what I heard, on a desk. And when he didn't like what some of the refugees said, he slapped him because he was higher up. But in the back of the camp where that was really good for me again. Well, also my brother, I think. And the back of it was a residential area for the families of the Japanese soldiers. There was a fence on the camp, and beyond that, that's where they lived. So we played there with the Japanese kids, even though they were on the other side. And the mothers, because their fathers, they were always patrolling someplace. But when their fathers were gone, the mothers, they pushed through the fence all kinds of food. Oh. It was wonderful. So this is how the Japanese were, really. And they were supposed to put us into gas chambers. So that's what the Germans wanted. And the Japanese emperor said no.
友邦日本军又进驻上海公共租界，英美侵略中国的策源地上海公共租界现在已经消灭，一切敌对性的机关都已经停止，上海市民的生活在友邦日本军的武力之下是得到了保障。
And the Chinese were very, very good to us. I mean, they were terrific. I mean, they were very, very good. And like I say, the Japanese did not tolerate. If you didn't make any trouble, they let you alone. If you made trouble, you were not seen the next day. So no, everybody kept their mouth shut. Yes. Because you see, as Pearl Harbor broke out, most of the foreigners went to the prison camp. The American, the British, the French. Right. Now, if you were Swiss, you were neutral, you were out, but there were not that many. No, I didn't have no contact. I was a bicycle mechanic in Shanghai. I learned a bicycle. That was, one of the main transportation. And I worked as a bicycle mechanic, and my sister, she was sewing blouses. She was the bread maker because I was only an apprentice, didn't get peanuts. Same like over here. I mean, first of all, they had to teach us English, and they put on the board a fork and say, that's a fork. So that's how we learned. And then general knowledge, of course, then the Pearl Harbor broke out, and it was finished. Yeah, the school was on a limited basis because the teachers which we had, they were mostly British, so a camp. They were in prison.
Okay.
So, but it functioned, am I saying the correct word, premature? You know what I mean? Not on a good basics. My mom went to the market. She bought some vegetable, and she bought some potatoes, and she made a soup. Bread. One thing, bread was never rationed. There were bread somehow, but it was not the best quality of bread. They didn't have the flour, and at the end of the war, they did not even have enough rice to feed the Chinese population. I mean, what saved our life was the atomic bomb on Japan. I'm against it. The atomic bomb is a terrible weapon, and God forbid that they're never gonna use it. But that bomb saved our life. The Japanese, you see, if somebody gets into a dilemma, you never know what they will do. The Japanese, the Americans took already all the islands up to the Philippines. Maybe in the last minute, the Japanese would have said, yes, we're gonna cast the 20,000. We don't know. But the war was over, so it saved our life. After the war, the U.S. Army came into Shanghai, and they gave us many jobs. I was a warehouseman, I gave up then the photography. There was a warehouseman there were opportunities. The American Red Cross, the highest, and if they wouldn't be, believe you me, I wouldn't talk to you. I would be dead. But again, they people think we got steak and we got chicken. No. But we survived. Most of them, from the 22,000, went to Israel. Nobody wanted to go back to Germany or Austria. And I know Austria Vienna is a nice city, but if you ask me, Paul, go back, live there, I couldn't, because I have so much bad memory. I got beaten up by the Hayot. You know what is the Hayot? Hitler used. They nearly killed me. I mean, that's exaggerated. They didn't kill me, but I had a black eye, and a shop owner came out from the store and say, "Beat that bloody Jew more." He was no. I wouldn't go back. Many times I said, especially as I was married, I said, should I have children or not? Should I, God forbid, maybe they have to go through what I went through. And somehow I said, my wife said, Paul, she said, a family without children is not a family. You do that we have children, and we had. We were extremely lucky. If we would have been 3 months more, I would have perished in Auschwitz. No, 1939, and I left Shanghai 1949. And then I went to Israel, and from Israel to Vienna, from Vienna to the USA, and then the Korean War. But like I say, I was always lucky. I say one thing, they saved our life. If they wouldn't have let us in, I wouldn't talk to you, I would be dead. Oh yes. At that time it was, the Chinese, they didn't have to let us in. After all, 22,000 people somehow is a competition in work. So we took jobs away from the Chinese. Not significantly, but we did. If I speak Shanghai dialect, for example, Nung Shotawa Alagong Shanghai Wa.